Welcome back to the Motherhood Collective Co. I am so sad and so happy I'm by myself today. Jessie, we are giving her some time and some space to welcome her baby into the world. And you guys, let me tell you how much harder this is without a friend here, because when it's me and Jessie, it's just us talking to each other. And now I'm like talking to an empty room. It's very strange, but I did not want to leave you guys hanging. We had so many questions that we did not get to answer during our last episode, and I wanted to make sure we got through those. I do have some fun things planned for you to finish out the postpartum series. We're going to have Kate Kroll on again. She's going to talk all about like postpartum nutrition, what you should be doing to nourish your body while you're postpartum. And we're going to be talking about some postpartum fitness, things you can be doing to get back into like normal feeling body movements after you have a baby. And we're going to talk about postpartum mood disorders. So postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, postpartum psychosis, things like that. I just want to really round out our postpartum series and give you guys the tools and information you need to just like rock it, because postpartum is so freaking hard. And honestly, I think it's supposed to be. I think it's a huge time of transition. It's a huge time of growing and evolving, especially as a first-time mom. I think when people ask the question of like, what's the hardest transition going from 1 to 2, 0 to 1, 2 to 3, I think every mom I've ever like heard answer that question, and I'll second it, is the hardest transition is going from 0 to 1, because you have to like leave the maiden era of your life and get into the motherhood. You're going from maiden to motherhood, and that's hard. There's growing, there's stretching, there's a lot of reparenting, there's a lot of getting used to just things like getting used to changing diapers, getting used to the overstimulation of always being touched, getting used to the stimulation of breastfeeding, and the constant input of your children, because for, until they're teenagers and they don't want to talk to you anymore, they're going to be either crying a lot or they're going to be talking your ear off. And it's a lot. And I think that when you go from 0 to 1, your body really gets used to functioning on less sleep, or maybe we just optimize sleep while we are sleeping. But honestly, I did notice that after I had Lily, I was not as tired. Like I had a much easier time getting, back to normal. I put that in quotes if you're not watching this on YouTube, but like getting back to feeling a little bit more like I could do my normal daily things because I wasn't so freaking exhausted. And I really just think you just kind of get used to having less sleep after you have your first baby. So the second one is not as rough. At least that was my experience. All right, I'm just going to jump right into some of these questions. So what are some funny things you've said to people when they ask about your parenting or sleep approach? I don't know if I've said funny things. I think I get offended. Not offended. People like ask me questions and I'm just like straight up. I think that I went through a big phase of like being super nervous to say like, oh, my baby's in bed with me, or, oh, I'm breastfeeding for 2 years, or, the things that people like think are weird. And I just straight up say it. If someone asks me, oh, are you getting any sleep? I'm like, yeah, she's in bed with me, so we do great. And things that like people have said when I was feeding Noah when he was almost 2, and they'd be like, oh, are you going to breastfeed him when he's 5? It's kind of weird when they're walking around and they can ask you for a boob. I'm like, oh, I'm going to breastfeed him till he wants to stop. He might be 10. Obviously it's a joke. I don't know if that's funny or not. I don't know if I said anything funny. Maybe if you've got something you can DM me, because I'm sure there are a lot of moms on here that have a better sense of humor than I do. Let's see. Did either of you, we talked about that last time, actually. I'm sorry. I'm just kind of getting back into the messages that I took a screenshot. Making time for Jesus as a new mom. I've talked about this a lot and actually have a reel about it. I think we talked about it in our first postpartum episode. This is so important, you guys. This time of transition, whether you're transitioning from maiden to mother or you're transitioning from mother of 1, 2, 3 to, whatever that next step is, it's a time of growing. You have to be very careful with your spirit at this time. Your spirit is raw. It might be a little bit more like sensitive to things. So when I'm postpartum, one of the biggest ways I connect with Jesus is I make sure that I am creating an environment in which his spirit can live. So that means I'm not watching horror movies. I'm not in my true crime, podcasts. I'm not cursing, and I don't know. Like if there's things that you feel it, right? When the Spirit just kind of is like, ooh, that is not for you right now. I avoid those things hard. I'm very, very conscious of the content I'm consuming. I make sure that, especially in postpartum, the content I'm consuming is uplifting. If you haven't listened to my birth story or to like any of our postpartum episodes, like Jessie and my personal experience postpartum, I talk about, I had pretty intense postpartum depression after Noah because of the PTSD that was triggered from the sexual abuse from my past. It was a big thing. But I will say, like, I just jumped right back into my normal stuff. I was watching Vampire Diaries. I was listening to a lot of Dateline because I was home. I'm like, my husband and I are entrepreneurs. So I was like, I didn't know what to do with myself sitting on the couch with my newborn. I didn't have another kid running around. It's not like with Lily, I had to kind of get back up and get back into things pretty quickly. With Noah, it was like this long time where I was just on the couch watching shows, reading books, doing whatever I wanted. While Brady was at work, it was just me and him. It was so much fun. You never get that again, you guys. It is so much fun. If you're there, enjoy it. But I was watching and listening to things that were not conducive to the Spirit being in my home. And once I opened up to Brady, like how I was feeling, that was like one of the first things he told me, because that's something he practices, that he practiced long before he met me, and he practices regularly now. And he makes fun of me for like the true crime stuff, but he's like, I'm going to stop watching Dateline. He's like, seriously, please, let's find, because he would come home and we would kind of watch shows together. And he's like, let's find something uplifting. We started watching, I think, The Goldbergs. I don't know if you've ever watched The Goldbergs. We were watching This Is Us. I don't know if I recommend that one, actually, because there's a lot of like sad things that happen with children and families, but it's a great show. But we were watching The Goldbergs, which is like seriously just this hilarious show about a mom and her children. Well, it's through the son's eyes. Anyways, not the point of the story, but I did notice like a really big difference once I started watching uplifting things. And that's when I was like, I really need Jesus in my life right now. Another thing I did was I put pictures of him up. I have this one picture. He's kind of famous on my personal Instagram page if you follow me. And I need to, off the top of my head, I forget the artist, but you can DM me and I can send you a link for it. You can get the prints off Etsy. It's this gorgeous, gorgeous portrait of Jesus. And I put him right where I could see him every second of every day, pretty much every second of every day, because it was where it was sitting. We had a 600 square foot apartment, not very big, not very many places you can look. And he was right in front of me. And, Christ atoned for us. He went through agony. He went through, sadness, grief. He went through all of the trials that we can experience as human beings. That's why he is the perfect judge, because he can truly understand us. So to have him just staring at me, while I'm nursing my baby, letting me know you're not alone. I'm here. Like, I know what you're going through and we're going to get through this, helped a lot. I had that picture as my screensaver on my phone. And then also, like, I was talking about content you're consuming. Like, if you're just nursing your baby at home, turn on some Christian music. I know as a parent, you're going to struggle with this for years, making time for like scriptures, making time for like actual quiet moments with Christ. Because honestly, in these days of raising young children, you don't get a lot of quiet moments. And that's just me being frank. It becomes a challenge, or at least it is for me. It becomes a challenge to have those quiet moments. Like before I had kids, when I could sit for hours in my scriptures and just feel the Spirit and like really feast on it. Now I'm more snacking than I am feasting. So I make sure I'm snacking more often throughout the day. So if I'm in the car, I'm listening to Christian music. If I'm cooking, I'm listening to Christian music. If Noah is outside playing, Lily's napping, I've got like a Bible study podcast in my ear. And when I do get to have those moments, like if I wake up early, if I find the kids both sleeping, if Brady takes the kids out on a walk and I can find those quiet moments, I make sure that I am feasting in my scriptures and focusing on Christ. So that is what I would say on how to make time for Jesus as a new mom, because it is hard, and don't feel alone in that. Let's see. We talked we talked about the registry last time. And then I also, if you like the top 5 things for registry and top 5 things you shouldn't, this past week have made a big story. Like I did a Q&A on our stories about things you should and shouldn't put on your registry. It is gold, and I have it saved to a link on our page. So if you want a refresher on that, because I think Jesse and I kind of jumped around on that, go hit up that highlight. It's great. Okay, so should I get rid of all blankets? Is it probably too cold? Am I still allowed to use a pillow? So we're talking about bed sharing here. You do not need to get rid of your blankets. Now, the Safe Sleep 7, you're definitely not using heavy comforters. Now, this isn't a recommendation. This is just what I'm doing. I still have my comforter on my bed. It is moderately heavy. I don't know if it's not like a weighted blanket or anything, but it's just not pulled up very high. Lily is, she's a breastfeeding baby. She's sleeping at my breast, and she kind of kicks her way up. So she's kind of like by my chin a lot of the night. And I realize, when she wakes up and has to feed it, kind of have to pull her down. But blankets are only going up to my waist. So I would say like at the bottom of my ribs is where my blankets are. They're not covering my breasts at all. And then I also have a small lightweight blanket on my side of the bed. So if it is cold, which we're keeping the heat around 71 degrees right now, so I haven't been needing it, but if it is cold, I grab that small blanket and I put it over my shoulders. It's not touching Lily, and if it was, she could swat it away. No big deal. If you are concerned about this, what the Safe Sleep 7 actually says, and what like Co-Sleepy, what her account says, is to have 2 blankets. 1 blanket for your husband, 1 blanket for you. And I would probably do this too if I had a smaller bed. Right now we have a king size bed, and my husband and I are, my husband's 6'4", but we're not like large humans. So there's a lot of space in the bed, and I sleep on the edge of the bed. It's so funny. It's just this tiny little baby in between us, and she, because she nuzzles into me all night, I feel like I'm hanging off the bed every night. But if you're concerned about it, just have 2 blankets, 2 more lightweight blankets, maybe not heavy comforters. You can definitely still sleep with blankets. I think you're going to find it surprisingly natural to not suffocate your baby when you're in bed. This is a huge concern, and I totally get it. Like, society has scared the crap out of moms for co-sleeping, but you're gonna, once you start doing it, you realize, oh, it's so totally natural to keep my baby safe at night. I'm not having to think about it as much as I thought I would. Now, the first few weeks, Lily was the first newborn that I've slept with, so I feel like I was like a little bit more alert, waking up a little bit more in the night, looking at her, and just making sure that she was safe. But you're gonna be surprised at how easy it actually is. You can still use blankets. And as far as a pillow, this one kind of depends. What kind of pillow are you using? What kind of pillowcase is on your pillow? If it's at a more breathable fabric, because Lily, like I said, she kicks her little feet against my legs. Because if you're breast sleeping with your baby, and they're very young, you're in a cuddle curl. So you're on your side and your legs are kind of curled up, and Lily kicks against my legs. So she ends up, up towards my pillow. So I use like a tubular pillow, not a traditional pillow, like a decorative tubular pillow. And I just got one that is, you can put a case on it. So I still use my silk pillowcase on it, but it's very like narrow, right? Because it's a tube. If you're on YouTube, I'm using my hands, but it's like a foot tall, and I have my arm underneath of it, and it's way up, at my head. It's not coming down past my shoulders where Lily's head is. So that is super helpful. What does it actually look like when you're bed sharing? Because people are scared to admit they do it. Okay, she says she can't find an example of what someone's bed actually looks like when bed sharing because people are scared to admit that they do it. I'm not sure if we covered this on the last one. We should have been marking these off. Go to Co-Sleepy's account. This is literally her entire account is videos of her co-sleeping with her baby. So in my situation, we're only sleeping with one baby. For the first I would say the first month, I was on the inside. I was in the middle. My husband was on one side. I was in the middle. Lily was on the edge of the bed. Now, when I say the edge, she was like 3 feet from the edge of the bed. But when they're that little, they don't move. They don't roll over. That is the recommended place for them to sleep for the first 2-3 months before they start rolling and becoming a little bit more, mobile as they're sleeping. Because again, it kind of eliminates the factor of your husband from the co-sleeping situation with you in the middle. A little harder to get up at night when you pee. And with Lily, she would kind of move between the middle and the outside. It was just, if I was going to feed on my right breast, I sleep on the left side of the bed. If I'm in the bed, right side of the bed, if you're looking at the bed from the foot. So if she was feeding on my right breast, she was in the middle. And then if she got up in the middle of the night, I put her on my chest. I did a safe rollover and scooted her far from the edge of the bed, and she would end up on that side of the bed. As they get older, they do need to be in the middle. And your husband, you'll be surprised at how much they just don't squash your baby. If you are sleeping with older siblings, and with a toddler in the bed, if you're doing like a big family bed, one, make sure it's big enough that you and your baby have space. But what you should do is have your child, on the edge of the bed, on the other side of your husband. So I would say, and here I am again using my hands if you're watching YouTube. If not, just kind of picture it in your head. Child, husband, baby, mom. Or if it's a newborn, child, husband, mom, baby. And if you're sleeping with your baby on the outside, you can totally have your toddler in between you and your husband. Just make sure you are between your baby and the edge of the bed, or your baby and your toddler. Make sure that the toddler doesn't have free reign to roll over, because I don't know about you. My toddler, Noah, he's not a toddler, sorry, he's a preschooler, which is so sad. You could a train could run through his room and he's not waking up. And he flops all over the bed. Maybe it's different with yours, but I would just be mindful of that. But yes, Co-Sleepy's account, go to her page, because that is literally what she does. Let's see. I have been sleeping with my infant on my chest most nights, but he's getting heavy. I'm looking into how to bed share with him. So this is the same person. I'm sorry, I read the question backwards. Do everything I just said. Baby on the outside until they're mobile, and then baby on the inside, and give it a couple of nights. Have a red light. I use the Hatch sound machine. That's the red light I use, but I have a red light in my room at all times. It's non-stimulating. It's not going to stimulate you, your husband, or your baby, so you can sleep with it really deeply. But the red light is really great, because I feel like the first few nights you're co-sleeping with your baby, you wake up a lot to check on them, because you're a little bit more anxious than you will be a few weeks down the road. And the red light helps, because you'll just be able to open your eyes and see that they're safe and go back to sleep. And after a few nights of that, you're going to be able to trust yourself. You're going to get into more of a rhythm, more of a pattern, and it's going to feel a lot more comfortable. Okay, here's a longer one. My husband had to go back to work a week after our baby girl was born. She just turned 2 months old, and for the past month-ish, every time he comes home from work around 5 p.m. and tries to help with her, give me a break, etc., she just cries. Is this normal? I feel so horrible for him, because he wants to do everything in his power to just help me out, but then eventually I just step in. I also know these are the, in quotations, witching hours. Is it normal? If so, any advice? Yes, that's so normal. And I feel you so hard. Do you know how many times a day my husband just says, oh, I just want to help. Please know that I really do want to help. Babies are attached to their mamas. Now, when baby is first born, you've heard like the golden hour, right? After baby's born, they don't have like a lot of visual capabilities. So scent is what they are really utilizing to experience the world around them for probably the first few days, but especially in that first hour. That is when it is so, so important for your husband to have his shirt off and get that baby on his chest. Get that baby on your husband as much as possible shirtless, so that they can experience the smell. Once they're like as old as Lily is, 4 months old, they have visuals, right? So now if they didn't get that time, and I don't even know if it has anything to do with that, but they're using their eyes and they can see this is not mom. But I think in those, at least the first few weeks, if you can get that baby on your husband's chest as much as possible, that's going to help. But other than that, that's totally normal. I mean, think back to when you were a kid. At least for me, I didn't really have much to do with my dad in terms of like cuddling, right? It was my mom I went to for comfort. It was my mom I went to if I got a boo-boo, if I scraped my knee, if something hard happened at school. Your baby's just doing that same thing. You're the one they're sleeping with. You're the one they're getting their food from. You're the one they're nuzzling into during the day and smelling and feeling. They're listening to your heartbeat. They listen to your heartbeat in the womb. You are home. This world, especially at this age, what did you say that she was 2 months old? They still don't understand. They literally have no idea that mom is separate from them. They think that you guys are one person. So when you are separated, that is stressful for them. And it should be. That is totally normal. Totally, totally normal for husband to come home from work all day. They don't smell like you. Their heartbeat sounds different. Their breathing pattern smells different. Their arms feel different. Their chest feels different. You're taking that baby outside of their comfort, which is okay. Dads should be able to hold their babies and comfort them and love on them and help out. But yeah, it's totally normal for your baby to recognize that this is not my mom. Put me back. I'm being separated from the other half of myself. Put me back. And they grow out of it. They totally grow out of it. 2 months old, your baby hasn't really hit stranger danger as hard as they will. Give them a few months, and they're going to start feeling real freaked out anytime they're separated from you. But they really do. They grow out of it. Dad becomes like, oh, daddy's home. It's fun. I get to play. I get to, read books and wrestle, and it's going to be fun. But for a while, it is hard. And that is absolutely totally normal. Just stay consistent. Just keep letting him try to help. Step in when your intuition says step in. You are mom. You have intuition over your child. It is God-given. And if your body's saying, okay, time for me to take the baby now, take the baby. Do what you need to do. But I think just being consistent, your baby is going to bond to their dad. But these first few months are meant for you and baby to be bonding. I really do believe that. All right, you guys wouldn't know it, but I just had to take what time is it? Oh my gosh, an hour and a half interlude because Lily was not okay with hanging out with the boys anymore. So back to what I was saying about totally normal for babies to feel distress when they're separated from their moms, even if they are with their dad and brother, who she absolutely adores. Okay. Let's finish this up. Let's get back to our questions here. Okay, we had a question about breastfeeding in public. Let me get back to it. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm having a day. I'm having a little bit of a night. It's been a little nuts. We've got not a Christmas. Gosh, I wish it was a Christmas party. We have a Halloween party this weekend. It's like a trunk or treat at our church, and I'm in charge of it. And I signed myself up to bring 50 cookies and like 2 sheets of cornbread. So it's been a day. Where is this question? Okay, here it is. Nursing in public. What's taboo? What is not? In Europe, they nurse 3 years. My son is 13 months. I still nurse in public once in a while and cover up. My partner says our son is too old, but I'm not listening to him because I know that there are still health benefits, and we have the loveliest and strongest bond. First of all, congratulations. That is no small feat. Breastfeeding for 13 months, especially if your husband's saying that your baby's too old. Your baby is not too old. And I'll be real honest, I'm not really sure I know what's taboo. I breastfed Noah for 2 years, and I don't know. I felt like I had any pushback from anybody. Honestly, I had a few people ask me like, "Oh, when's he gonna stop?" Or like comments. I think one of my family members made a comment like, "Oh, when they're old enough to ask for it, it's kind of weird." And I don't know. I just brush it off like whatever. But I do want to say, because this person said that their husband said that their 13-month-old baby was too young. The World Health Organization recommends that we breastfeed for 2 years, 1 year exclusively, 2 years with food. And in America, The CDC still recommends babies have milk for 2 full years. They just only recommend breast milk for 1 year, and then they say cow's milk, which is so asinine, from 1 to 2. I'm going to say this a little close to my mic. Breast milk does not lose its benefits or its nutrients because a baby hits a year old. It does not. You're still giving your baby like insane amount of fat that they need, of vitamins, of minerals, of nutrients. You're giving your baby tryptophan. Tryptophan is converted into melatonin. So you're actually helping them sleep, which is, a very nice thing. That's why babies, like, that's usually the last feed you give up is your nighttime feed. Your breast milk contains stem cells. Stem cells are cells in our body that they don't have like a predetermined destination. They can turn into cells that go to your heart, that go to your liver, that go to your brain. They can do anything. They are what we like inject into a serious injury to heal it. It's what is extracted from like cord blood to store in a bank for your baby to use later. Like, tons of benefits there. And then it also doesn't lose its immune response, immune benefits because your baby turns a year old. When you are introduced to a virus, a bacteria, whatever it is, and your body starts to create antibodies against that virus, those antibodies against that virus are given to your child through your breast milk. So common cold you got from Aunt Sally at Thanksgiving, your baby's going to be protected from that because you're giving them the antibodies, specifically IgA, that you are developing against said virus. So for the people that hear the argument, 1 year old is too old, however, whatever age it is, that's too old. Do you know that the actual age for extended breastfeeding, so this is like not like your typical baby weans himself, but like extended breastfeeding across the world, the average age is from between 4 and 7. In 3 years, breastfeeding is typically like super normal anywhere else in the world except for the United States because we are a convenience country. We don't have the systems to support a mom who wants to breastfeed past, her 6-week maternity leave if she's lucky to get that. We just slap the Band-Aid of formula on everyone. Not saying that formula isn't useful because there are tons of moms who would love to breastfeed or breastfeeding isn't for them and that's how they feed their baby. Totally valid. That's not the people I'm talking about here. We just don't have the systems to support long-term breastfeeding in this country, which is so sad. So screw everyone who says that your baby's too old. If you want to keep breastfeeding your baby, you keep breastfeeding that baby. And in terms of like public norms, I don't know, like taboo. I mean, just, I guess, don't show people your nipples. And I even think that's fine. I don't know if you saw, there was like a viral reel going around of someone mom shaming a mother on a beach breastfeeding her baby. She was pointing a camera at her while she's feeding her child on a beach. And they were saying, whoever was recording was saying things like, she's doing this in public. She's not even using a cover. I saw her nipple. Like, get over it. We have sexualized breasts to a point where it makes people uncomfortable if they see a nipple. Guess what? Breasts were created, are designed, and their sole purpose is not to, woo your husbands away from you. It's to feed my child. And if there's a problem with that, that's a problem on you. It's not a problem on me. If I'm out at a restaurant and I'm eating dinner and my baby needs to eat, I'm going to feed my baby. I'm sorry if that makes you uncomfortable. There are covers if you feel uncomfortable having your breast exposed in public. There are covers you can use. They're like the same ones that go over the car seat. I know Milk Snob makes them. There's like some really breathable crochet ones that keep getting advertised on Instagram. I don't remember the name of that. Maybe I'll pull it up and share it on our stories. If you don't follow us on Instagram, follow us at the Motherhood Collective Co. But it's really what you're comfortable with because, while you're feeding, it's really hard to get away from baby pulling away, especially as they get a little bit older and they're distracted and there's noise, they pull away and look, it's really hard to escape not being exposed if you're not covered. But I really like to have just like a tank top or something on under my shirt. And then I lift up my t-shirt and then my stomach is covered. Like and this is what I'm comfortable with. If you're comfortable, do whatever you're comfortable with. But having the tank top underneath, having the t-shirt on top just kind of opens it up to where the skin that Lily needs, to feed and not really exposing myself anywhere. But yeah, I'm not maybe the best person to speak on this because I don't care. I really don't. I'll feed my daughter whenever she needs fed, wherever she needs fed, however I need to feed her. And I'm not going to let somebody bully me into not feeding her. Let me get to the next question. I'm sorry if I didn't answer that the way that you wanted it to. Is it safe to bed share if your baby isn't breastfeeding? This mom specifically is bottle feeding her baby pumped breast milk. Yes, at 4 months. So Jessie and I did a live with Katie, the Not So Tired Toddler. That's her handle on Instagram. And she is a toddler sleep specialist. But we talked a little bit about this. She was talking about how once baby hits 4 months, it's like safe to co-sleep. Like she could be co-sleeping with her dad. Like that's like the point where baby is strong enough and, alert enough that they're safer in more situations. So I know that if they are not breastfeeding specifically, you should wait till they're 4 months. And I believe the reason for that is that babies have a reflex if they're breastfeeding to have their face up at the breast. So when I'm sleeping with Lily, it's her instinct to have her face near my breast. So it's, easier for me to keep the covers below my breast and like to, I don't know. She's just not being suffocated, and by covers or my skin or anything like that. So if you are bottle feeding, you use it like a bedside bassinet or like one of those they're like little tiny 4-inch tall bassinets that go on your bed, like in between you and your husband, but your baby has their own space. That way you can you're still co-sleeping, really. They're just not in the cuddle curl with you. And I'll say, because I think somebody asked previously, like, is 4 months, 5 months too old to start co-sleeping? No, that's when I started co-sleeping with Noah. And let me tell you, the second I just like pulled him into bed with me and we just vibed so hard. There was never an issue. He was so glad to be out of that bassinet and into my arms when we slept. So if you're bottle feeding, wait until they're 4 months old. You can still co-sleep. Technically co-sleeping is just them in the room with you. But wouldn't bed share until they're 4 months old unless they're breastfeeding. And they'll love it at 4 months old. They will definitely love it. I had another question, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it was a question about, because the Safe Sleep 7 talks about the safety of bed sharing with a full-term healthy baby. And this question was, my best friend had her baby 3 weeks early. Is she ever going to be able to bed share with that baby, or will she just have to wait 3 weeks when she gets home from the hospital? Or is that baby always going to be considered preterm and not safe to sleep with? I have a couple of thoughts on this. 3 weeks early is still term, because 3 weeks early in the United States, and the way we classify our pregnancies here is 37 weeks. 37 weeks is considered term, unless maybe you were talking about 37 weeks being full term and she was born at 34 weeks. That's a little bit different. But typically the hospital is not going to release your baby until, and I know there are cases where this isn't completely true, where babies are on oxygen, things like that. But in most cases, the hospital is releasing your baby when they are strong and healthy, and maybe even when they're past term. When they say full-term babies, I would imagine that is like their gestational age. If they were born at 34 weeks, then at 37 weeks, 3 weeks later, maybe let's start bed sharing. But this is my other opinion on this. Bed sharing, and the form of bed sharing I'm talking about here is going to be kangaroo care. We talked about this in our bed sharing episode. That is like 100% recommended for babies in the NICU. It's like having baby on your chest, because when you sleep with your baby on your chest, you are co-regulating their nervous system. You're regulating their heartbeat. You're regulating their breathing rate that's syncing up with yours. So that is like a surefire way to make sure that your baby's oxygen levels stay high, that their heart rate is going strong and solid. And then you're so responsive when you have your baby on your chest, right? And with Kangaroo Care, they have like a really loose swaddle. There are specific swaddles created for this that just kind of holds them on your chest while you are relaxed in an inclined position. So like you have pillows behind your back that you're not like lying flat. So when your baby is on you like that and you guys are sleeping, if your baby stops breathing, if your baby like sputters in their sleep, like startles in their sleep or gasps for air, you're waking up. 100% you're waking up. Are you doing that if your baby's in a different room? No, you're probably not. And like I've said like 10 times, it is recommended by even the American Pediatric Association to keep your kid in your room. I want to say they're 6 months, but most pediatric associations around the world say for a full year. It doesn't necessarily mean in bed with you, just in your room. So I hope I answered that question. If they're 3 weeks early, yes, I think that's still term and you would still be sleeping, bed sharing with your baby. If not, maybe wait 3 weeks until they're a little stronger, a little bigger. I mean, use your God-given intuition over your babies. 100% use your God-given intuition over your babies. I wanted to end this episode. This was a question or a conversation I had on my personal page. Not the Motherhood Collective Co., not mine and Jesse's page, but I thought that it was such an important message and such an important conversation that I had that I really wanted to share it with you guys. And I really wanted you guys to have this message as well. And I did touch on it. I went on to our stories and talked a little bit about it on the Motherhood Collective Co. So if you're following us on Instagram at the Motherhood Collective Co., you did probably see this already, but it's just a good reminder. Let me go back to the original message. Okay. Is there any, wait, let me see. Okay, so she started out asking me about Lily's sleep patterns and my rhythms and routines. She said, especially with 2 kids, what does your day look like so that you have time to get ready, get both kids ready, spend time with each of them, and get things done around the house, cook dinner? Is there anything you use to reference sleep or wake windows or different milestones, or is it mostly intuitive? Are there things that have worked really well for you for sleep and naps and things like that? I honestly sometimes feel sad because I just feel so stressed and overwhelmed most of the time, and I really want to enjoy motherhood, but instead I find myself feeling like I'm not meant to be a mom. I honestly just feel not good at it. I don't know how to find time to get all of this done, so I'm a mess, and my house is a mess, and my older son asks for my attention, and I really struggle saying hold on so much to him. Fun activities turn into a straight disaster so fast, and I can get very overwhelmed just by all of the energy and noise. And with my 5-week-old, I just feel clueless all the time. I feel like my energy is spent trying to make sure he is fed and then diapered, and then all the spit up trying to burp or figure out why he is crying, usually eat again, fighting sleep. It just feels like he's unhappy and I can't figure out why, and it's so draining. I can't help but feel like other moms have it figured out, and I just really I can't help but feel like other moms have it figured out and just really enjoy their kids. And I don't know why I'm feeling like I'm drowning. And honestly, I don't even think I necessarily have it too bad. Okay. And she goes on to say, I'm just wondering if it's my perspective or something that needs to shift, or if maybe there's something that could change in my own routines or something. And just if other moms struggle with this doubt or if it comes naturally for you. I am so glad that this amazing woman reached out to me to talk to me about this. I hate the question. Not that I hate the question. I hate that the question had to be asked. I just want to remind you guys, I mean, if you listen to that message, this mom is comparing herself to everybody she's seeing on social media when she's saying, oh, it just seems like motherhood comes so naturally to you. It just feels like, she's mentioned in past messages, because this is not the first time we've conversed. She's mentioned, it just seems like you really thrive in motherhood, or maybe those weren't the exact words, but it was something really similar. And I just want to tell you that you guys are seeing a highlight reel on social media. Even me, I'm just posting a highlight reel because people on social Instagram is not a place to air your dirty laundry. It's not. And it is never a place I would go to complain about motherhood. It is never a place I would go to air my children's dirty laundry, to show them having tantrums, to show them in any light other than their very best light, because you guys posting things on social media is forever. Jesse and I have an entire episode about this, raising kids without shame, kids in social media, or our kids in social media, but it's our Raising Kids Without Shame series. And the things that we're posting about our children are going to live forever. The things you're saying about your kids, they're going to be able to look back and see. And there's no guarantee, even if you delete it, that they can't see it. There's no guarantee. So I think a lot of us are intensely careful with what we post. If we post anything at all about our children, I have a lot of friends who have felt called to stop posting their children online. Jesse is one of them. And while I don't post my kids on our Motherhood Collective page, I do post my children on my personal page, but I do. It's a highlight reel. I'm not airing my dirty laundry on there, and nor are any of these influencers. And I told this mom, first of all, I sent her a picture of my dirty kitchen because I'm like, wait, just a minute. I need to show you that it's not all perfect all the time. But I posted onto our page. I said something like, that perfect clean house you saw, she probably worked really hard on that, and you didn't see the absolute disaster of a mess her kitchen was after breakfast. The fun activity that you're seeing all of these families doing, like taking their kids to pumpkin patches right now because it's almost Halloween, there's at least one giant meltdown in that activity. They're just not posting about it on social media. And then, the mom that looks all put together, she had to get ready. She had to get up and go upstairs and find some help with her kids, or, entertain her kids enough to where she could go get some makeup on and do something with her hair. But, before she did that, she looked just the same as you did. She had on sweatpants, messy hair, an oily face because she just woke up. Don't compare your motherhood to what you're seeing on Instagram. And if that's you, if you do that, just unfollow, hit unfollow. Don't follow other moms if that's going to land you in a trap. Also, I wonder if you noticed, she said she was 5 weeks postpartum, you guys. When I was 5 weeks postpartum with Lily, I was drowning. I was mourning, absolutely mourning my time alone with Noah. I was struggling trying to figure out how I was going to love 2 kids. I was struggling trying to figure out how I was going to provide Noah with the level of attention and love that he is used to, while also taking care of a baby. And I was also just trying to survive feedings and naps and diapers. I think it took me a good 2 months, I'd say a good 2 months to finally get into a rhythm. And we got into a really great rhythm. And then 4 months hit, and there was a whole sleep progression in there. So motherhood is beautiful. Motherhood is, it's a blessing. That doesn't mean that it's easy. In fact, I would say motherhood is hard because it's important. If it wasn't important, it would not be difficult. And if it's not difficult, then I don't know, maybe you've got a lot of help, or I don't know. I do feel like having 2 kids is a lot different than having one. So this mom who's trying to get used to her second kid, it's just a lot. It is a lot. And I just hope that all of you feel like the work you're doing is important. And if you loved your babies that day, if you apologized when you messed up, I have to say sorry to Noah a lot, because I'm not a perfect human. And I think I said this in a past episode. I have got this mantra whenever I lose my temper or something with him. I cool down and I come to him and I sit him down and I look him in the face and I say, hey, Noah, mommy's not perfect. I'm still learning. I'm so sorry that I lost my patience. I'm so sorry, XYZ, whatever I did. Like, I'm going to try and do better. You didn't deserve that. If you're doing that, if you're apologizing when you mess up and you're going to bed, thinking of how you can be better tomorrow, you're already killing it. You're already doing so much. You're breaking cycles. You're reparenting yourself. You are doing a great job. You are a good mom. And I'm going to leave that as a last thought with you guys. And we will see you. I will see you next week. You guys be sending all of the vibes to Jessie as she transitions into being a mom of two. Just give her love, send her good vibes. And I can't wait to see how all of this unfolds for her. And I can't wait for her to be back because let me tell you, recording by myself is just not as much fun. I hope that it was still good for you guys. And when she's back, I just want to give her a hug. All right, I'm going to stop ranting about my best friend. I might cry. I will talk to you next week. See you next time.